This is Focus Black Oklahoma. I'm Jacob Littlebear.
And I'm Kuma Roberts.
Focus Black Oklahoma is sponsored by the Black Church Traditions and African American Faith Life program at Phillips Seminary, offering a master's degree in social justice online and in person. Learn more at wherefaithleads.com.
For decades, homeschooling in the U.S. was largely associated with white, religious, or affluent families. But as Danielle A. Melton reports, a growing number of black families are turning to homeschooling, seeking a more rigorous, culturally relevant education for their children.
I'm going to read to you, and then you guys will narrate to me what you've heard, okay? Okay, so last time...
For decades, homeschooling in the U.S. was largely seen as a choice for white, religious, or affluent families. But that's changing. Between spring 2020 and fall 2020, the percentage of black families homeschooling jumped from 3.3% to 16.1%, according to the U.S. Census Bureau, the fastest increase among any racial groups. By 2021, the number of black homeschooling families has doubled, and reports from NPR and PBS suggest that the trend is still growing. For many parents, homeschooling is no longer an extreme choice. It's becoming a necessary one. Some families turn to homeschooling because they want a more rigorous academic experience for their children. Others feel traditional school environments fail to serve black students well, whether due to low expectations, racial bias, or a lack of resources in underfunded schools. Two Oklahoma mothers, Ariel Falk and Elise Thompson, saw firsthand how public and private schools weren't meeting their children's needs. Their solution? Homeschooling. For Ariel Falk, homeschooling was the plan from the start. Her daughter, Eleanor, was reading at a third grade level before she even entered first grade. But like many children her age, Eleanor wanted to try school because her friends were going.
Yeah. Eleanor, she's so fun. So she has a lot of friends, right? A lot of friends. And we have a lot of play dates. All of her friends are the same age. And so they got together, spoke, and she bring that information to me and was like, Mommy, all my friends are going to kindergarten. They're going to be at school.
Ariel was hesitant, but she wanted to support her daughter's curiosity. So she and her husband enrolled Eleanor in a college prep charter school that promised academic rigor. But within weeks, Ariel saw the problem. Eleanor, a child who had always been excited about learning, was now bored.
I absolutely knew that was going to happen because she's really smart, even like with her play dates and I try to see how she does with other kids her age.
Despite being in what was supposed to be an academically challenging environment, Eleanor wasn't being pushed. Instead of growing, she was being held back.
The work really isn't what I expected compared to, I'm really trying to be nice about it. I really don't know how to say this, but I do feel like the education system they need help. I do believe that. I'll say that.
For Elise Thompson, the decision to homeschool wasn't immediate. She had tried everything: private school, public school, even boarding school. No matter where her children went, she saw the same pattern. School wasn't designed to adapt to the individual needs of Black children.
I think that the system doesn't work for all children because we're all different. And so I think, honestly, it's really degrading to think that this one size fits all method with education is going to serve our children well. It's just not.
Elise saw her son, who was bright and eager to learn, being overlooked and left without the support he needed to thrive.
We started him off in a private school, and at first it was good, but then as he got older, there was more kids in the classroom and he just began to fall through the cracks. I think the shift is happening, one, because we realize that there's just more options. There's more options in how to educate your children. We're seeing that the one size fits all doesn't work. And I think that, parents are just getting tired of the results that we're getting. Tired of, seeing our smart kids not do well and not thrive. It's just such a great disservice.
For Elise, it was a wake-up call. If she wanted her children to be challenged, to be seen, to be supported, she had to take control of their education. Homeschooling has historically been dominated by white families. For years, Black parents who chose to homeschool often found themselves isolated, with few other families who shared their experience. That's something both Ariel and Elise recognized early on. Here's Elise.
We're definitely the minority in most circles, homeschooling circles that we run in pretty much all the time. There's not very many people that look like us. And if there is, it's like, maybe one other family. We would love to see more people who look like us.
But also, it was kind of taboo too. It's kind of like, with therapy and counseling with Black families, like we don't always feel like, oh, that might be a white person's thing, if we're being honest.
But that's changing. More Black-led homeschooling networks are forming, offering support, curriculum resources, and a sense of community. According to the National Home Education Research Institute, NHERI, Black parents stated being dissatisfied with public schools' lack of academic rigor and the need for culturally affirming education as the key reason for making the switch. Stacy Fuentes, an educator, homeschool mom, and president and founder of Family Workspace, which supports families by providing resources, connections, and opportunities, which includes a tutoring program for marginalized students, explains the findings of the National Assessment of Educational Progress, NAEP, regarding why more Black families are turning to homeschooling.
So we see from NAEP data that Black and Latino students have a large achievement gap. On average, they're scoring 25 to 30 points lower on standardized tests than white students. There's also disciplinary disparities. Black students are 3 times more likely to be suspended or expelled than their white peers, even for similar infractions. Fewer resources, larger class sizes, less experienced teachers, and all of those inputs cause the outputs to not be as great. We also see teacher expectations and bias. That studies show teachers hold lower expectations for Black and brown students, impacting student performance and self-esteem. And that's from a study done in 2016. If we zoom in on Oklahoma, we see that we're performing close to last in the nation, according to the National Assessment of Educational Progress, which is considered the nation's report card. When you connect the dots between Oklahoma's low performance and the educational disparities experienced by Black and brown students, the implications for Black and brown students in Oklahoma are clear.
For families like Ariel and Elise, homeschooling isn't about rejecting education, it's about reclaiming it. It's about ensuring their children are challenged, nurtured, and seen in a way traditional schools have failed to provide. But this shift is about more than just individual families. It's about a movement. More Black parents are choosing to take their children's education into their own hands, not because they don't believe in schooling, but because they believe Black children deserve better. Again, here's Stacy Fuentes.
Many Black families feel public schools fail to meet their child's academic, social, and emotional needs. Anyone who is paying attention wants that to be different for the next generation.
Many Black families are no longer waiting for the system to change. They are creating their own solutions, their own communities, and their own pathways to success.
So I think it's amazing that Black people, Black families are really getting on with the program. And I just hope to see it grow and grow and grow.
Homeschooling isn't just an alternative. It's a statement, a choice, and a call to action. And as more Black parents reclaim their children's education, they are reshaping not just their family's future, but the future of homeschooling itself. If you want to support the work of the women featured in this segment, you can follow them and their organizations online. Ariel Falk, founder of Black Moms of Tulsa, you can find her on Instagram at Black Moms of Tulsa. Elise Thompson, a homeschooling advocate, connect with her on Instagram at Elise Homeschools. Stacy Fuentes, executive director of Family Workspace, who works with marginalized students and families at Family Workspace on Facebook and Instagram. For Focus, Black Oklahoma, I'm Danielle A. Melton in North Tulsa.
Josiah, remind me why we read this book, because obviously some of these stories are very sad and not fun to hear, but why do we learn about them?
So that the past of itself.
You're listening to Focus Black Oklahoma. I'm Allison Herrera, one of the creators of Tribal Justice, the struggle for Black rights on Native land. The full story can be found on Audible. In our last installment, we heard about Mikail Hill, a Cherokee Freedman who was arrested by the Okmulgee Police in the fall of 2020. He fought to have his case transferred to tribal court because he's an enrolled citizen of the Cherokee Nation. After all, this was right after the landmark McGirt decision, which returned criminal jurisdiction to tribal nations in Oklahoma when they involved Native people, like Mikail. But his case was complicated because of his status as a Black man with no blood quantum. His case didn't qualify to be transferred. In this series, we've been exploring how centuries-old laws have impacted people like Mikail and his brother Mikail, who was tragically murdered in 2016. His case was transferred out of state court, even though, like Mikail, he's an enrolled Cherokee Freedman. Keep listening to find out why. What he means here is cases that are tied up in state court deserve the same protection. He's arguing that the McGirt ruling should apply to Mikail's case and those of other Freedman descendants who are in a similar predicament. The announcement is a big deal, and it's something that people in the community and criminal justice advocates have been working on since the 2020 decision.
If a Cherokee citizen of freedman descent is accused of a crime, he can and will be hauled into state court. His status as a Cherokee Nation citizen will be completely ignored. Our message today is that this is simply intolerable.
The announcement was a lot to take in. I kept thinking about Mikail and his family, and I looked for him in the crowd of people, hoping he might be here. I had texted him a few days before asking if he and his mom planned on coming. He said he was busy with work, but I was hoping he'd changed his mind. I really wanted to hear what he thought about what Hoskin Jr. had just said. I thought, could Mikail's case be the one Hoskin Jr. is thinking of? So a few days after the event, I got him on Zoom to ask him if our reporting for this documentary influenced him at all.
Yeah, your reporting caused me to do a couple of things. One is to look back at an article that I had just sort of skimmed back in the summer that dealt with his case, and then to think more about this idea, which is we cannot say as a tribe that we're doing everything to ensure equality for our citizens if we don't advocate on this issue in the Congress and in the courts. I think in particular, learning more about Mr. Hill's case from some of the questions that you all have asked me has caused me to sit down literally with our Attorney General and specifically talk about this case and how we might be able to intervene or otherwise weigh in on the issue of jurisdiction. So it really has, I think, sharpened our focus in a way that it was not sharpened before.
In the meantime, Mikail did text me back a few days after the announcement. He sent me a link to a news article about Chief Hoskin Jr., asking if I could tell the chief about his case. I said he already knew. That's why he was proposing this in the first place. It seemed that Mikail was feeling hopeful. There was support from the Cherokee Nation, and his next court date was coming up. It's early May, and it's starting to get hot here in Oklahoma as summer approaches. We're getting ready to step back into the halls of the Okmulgee County Court. The deal on the table for Mikail is pretty much the same as in January. Get the felony charges dropped, plead to a misdemeanor for assault, spend a year on probation, and go to counseling. I thought Mikail would want to take it to trial. He'd called me the day before court and said what was being offered didn't sit right with him.
If you'll drop that on a police officer, then I know this whole thing is bogus. He's going to try to offer me that that offer, and I'm going to tell him no, I don't want that. I just know I'm getting tired of going to court, but at the same time, I'm not going to just accept something if it ain't right.
But today, I can see it's finally starting to sink in for Mikail that the state is not going to drop all of his charges. He's starting to seriously consider taking a plea deal. As Mikail, his mother Diana, and his attorney Ron Jones and I conference outside the courtroom doors, Jones explains the terms. Mikail and his mother wrestle with the decision, and it's tense. I sit on the bench beside them as silence blankets the conversation over the din of people coming and going. It's hot inside the courthouse, and people are fanning themselves to keep cool. As Mikail and his attorney discuss, it becomes clear that some complicated family matters involving the custody of his young son are affecting his decision-making. Mikail is nervous that if he goes to trial and gets convicted of a felony, he may never see his son again. So pleading to a misdemeanor feels like the safer choice. After all the waiting, the actual event happens quickly. Ron Jones agrees to a new court date with the district attorney and the judge, and we leave. Mikail still hasn't decided what to do, accept the terms of the plea or take it to trial. He tells me he'll be in touch. After a few weeks, Mikail contacted me. He'd finally made a decision. I met him outside about 20 minutes before court started when he told me. He had on pressed slacks and a button-up shirt with shiny shoes. He told me he was ready for it to end.
I'm mentally drained, I just want to get back to my life and be able to have fun and do something positive and not sit in the house so much.
I shouldn't have been shocked. After his last hearing in May, he was seriously considering the offer. But after all this time, I couldn't believe it was going to end today. Mikail walked inside. I did too, emptying my pockets and putting my bag and phone through the metal detector before I walked in. And then I waited to go inside the courtroom, where Mikail's name would be called.
Okay, I'm about to head into the courtroom right now, and it's probably the last time we're going to be here. I just saw Mikail and Diana and his lawyer, Ron Jones, and I don't know, Diana seems pretty positive right now.
While return to office mandates make headlines in the United States, Kenya is developing the infrastructure and policy to become a global remote work destination. The capital, Nairobi, has earned a distinct nickname thanks in part to investment in telecommunications, education, and technology tailored to meet local needs. Here's Zakira Muhammad with more.
Nairobi, Kenya is known to many as Silicon Savannah, a play on the word Silicon Valley. It is a city undergoing a technological renaissance. Its tech rebirth, complemented by places like Tattoo City, coffee shops like Art Cafe, and innovation hubs like WSH Mombasa, are empowering entrepreneurs to cross cultural divides and foster growth, even as the economy shows data with questions about its overall effectiveness for startup creation. One of Kenya's key strategies in becoming a global remote work destination is its digital nomad visa, designed to attract global talent by offering a streamlined process for remote workers seeking to live and work in the country for 1 year. 2 American expats have embraced the city as their new home. Adreanna Bowman, a Chicago native and Hampton University graduate, moved to Kenya in 2020. She's a remote financial reporting auditor while managing new experiences as a newlywed to her Kenyan husband, McGirt. Adreanna shares her story.
The first time I visited in 2020 with my mom for missionary work. So we kind of liked the atmosphere, we liked it, the people, so forth. I met my husband also in 2020 at a traditional dowry. So when I was in the village with my mom, his brother was getting married to one of the host family members. So I met him at the traditional wedding.
Bowman then highlights the robustness of Kenya's internet infrastructure and explains the relatively stable Wi-Fi situation.
Wi-Fi to me is amazing to be like in a country in Africa. The Wi-Fi is really good. It just depends on what service provider you have. I don't use Safaricom, but I have another provider that's within the area of where I live, but it's really good. It's strong. It connects well. Sometimes a little hiccups, but it's not as bad as you think. Cause I've been to like South Africa. South Africa, like it's been horrible with like just the power outages and so forth like that. I've been to other parts in Africa as well. So Kenya is good for working remotely for an American abroad.
Janice Essian, an HR consultant, fashion designer, and executive director of a family foundation from Baltimore, Maryland, detailed her experiences as a digital nomad. She talked about her love for the city, its bustling life, and her personal affinity for the local peace and wildlife.
I really fell in love with Kenya. I fell in love with the wildlife, the plant life, the peace that I experienced here during that 6 months. I got back into doing a lot of different creative things. I also, when you don't have to cook, clean, or drive, it gives you a lot of spaciousness to do other things. I also enjoyed how bustling the city was.
Janice also discusses the advanced technologies she's encountered, such as M-Pesa, which is the mobile money app in Eastern Africa, and elaborates on the challenges of remote work, including occasionally unreliable electricity.
I have experienced some, advanced technology being here that I'm a little surprised about. So that works pretty well. You always have to have some sort of backup. So those are, I know people that have like 2 backups. They have a dongle and then they have their phone. So I just have my phone and it seems to work pretty well. If the power goes out, the Wi-Fi goes out. So a power bank would be super, super helpful. And what I do with my power bank, because like if the power goes out, I try to charge my power bank every week. That way it's always charged.
Recent reporting from Business Daily Africa highlights how telecommunication company Safaricom is navigating the competitive landscape against Elon Musk's Starlink by avoiding price wars and focusing on tailoring local solutions for Wi-Fi by increasing its home fiber internet speed in Kenya. According to Crunchbase, there are over 2,000 African-owned internet service providers, yet there is still a system average interruption frequency index, SAIFI, averaging 3.57 power outages in Kenya. In a city of contrast, a mix of bustling urban life and quiet innovation hubs like Katu City are where world-class tech companies are planting roots. Katu City is a 5,000-acre mixed-use development with offices, shopping districts, medical clinics, a sports and entertainment complex, and a manufacturing area for over 250,000 residents. Katu City, a privately owned startup city located just 12 miles north of Nairobi, is home to over 88 businesses and provides employment to more than 15,000 people. It is a designated special economic zone, which offers tax incentive to attract companies like CCI Global while promoting innovation at the edge of Nairobi's Silicon Savannah. Unity Homes is a residential community offering amenities including 2 international schools, a fitness center, swimming pool, restaurants, and a park. With its proximity to the capital, Katu City seamlessly utilizes Nairobi's labor market, further bridging global and local opportunities for entrepreneurs. It is paving the way for modern urban and tech-driven housing developments. To understand this better, Katu City's senior sales partner, Laban Tanu, detailed ways the affordable housing community plays into the vision that is Silicon Savannah.
I've worked here for 10 years now. I live here myself. I've never had a challenge with water. I've never had a challenge with power. In case there's a power blackout, of course, we have a standby generator. And then here we've prioritized solar in every house. So again, water is heated by the solar. Because you see, every house now, I mentioned, every house is connected to the fiber. Yeah. So many people are working from home now. You're able to work from home because of the access of the internet. Katu City buys power in bulk from Kenya Power, and then they're able to distribute now to the residents within Katu City. In fact, the diaspora market is now what is holding the company. 70% of our sales now are diaspora, Kenyans who live abroad. There are so many expatriates. The big number of people who are purchasing are expatriates, people who are here for some assignments. So if you need like a coffee area, you have to get out. There's a restaurant next to the swimming pool. So like the commercial center has a swimming pool, as a restaurant, and also as a gym. It's created a lot of job opportunities for Kenya.
Nairobi's tech ecosystem is rapidly evolving, offering opportunities for entrepreneurs to blend global expertise with local impact. Experts like Adreanna and Janice, who are building bridges between cultures and industries, are showing what's possible when global collaboration meets local modernization. Levon Tanu showed that Tattoo City is becoming a key player in innovation and isn't limited to foreign and government funding. For Focus, Black Oklahoma, I'm Zakir Mohammed in Diani Beach, Kenya.
Thanks for joining us on Focus Black Oklahoma.
Would you like to pitch a story to FBO?
Or work with us as a correspondent?
Please email us at contact@focusblackoklahoma.com.
Or call 918-807-3886. In a world where generosity often battles for space amid profit margins, one small nonprofit in Oklahoma has managed to turn secondhand treasures into first-class impact. Park Avenue Thrift, a thrift store in Enid, didn't just settle for selling used clothing and furniture. It became a lifeline for local nonprofits, a backbone for community arts, and a catalyst for change. Recently, Park Avenue Thrift took home a major statewide award for nonprofits. Vincent Fields has the story.
If you were to write a definition for a nonprofit organization, it might read something like, a collective, organization, or company that operates to give back to the greater good of society rather than for financial profit or gain, often adhering to a mission statement or manifesto. Nonprofits in today's society are created to fulfill a need that our government is unwilling or unable to address. Examples might include basic services, social injustice, childcare, and mental or physical health, just to name a few. The One Awards is dedicated to honoring the outstanding work of nonprofits statewide. As of 2024, the Oklahoma Center for Nonprofits has given more than $2.4 million to more than 200 Oklahoma nonprofits through the One Awards. On April 5, 2025 in Tulsa, Enid's Park Avenue Thrift was selected to receive the J. Jerry Dickman Award for Excellence as the best nonprofit in the state. Park Avenue Thrift was co-founded on October 1st, 2007 by Paula Nightingale and David Hume, who just wanted to make a difference in the world. It primarily started out with a thrift store. Then, as the thrift store became more successful, there were grants to other nonprofits, donations to schools and classrooms, sponsorship of civic organizations, and fundraising efforts, all with the goal of strengthening the community and improving the quality of life for the residents of Enid. One nonprofit in Enid that has been sponsored by Park Avenue Thrift is the Gaslight Theater. Katina Sundvall, the box office manager, who also has directed and performed in many Gaslight Theater shows, offered insights into the type of people and organization that makes up Park Avenue Thrift.
Wonderful people. They had an idea on how to open up community involvement with this store, and it kind of took off. And when I guess they retired, Stella took over, and she's been doing amazing work with it since she took over.
Sundvall then went on to mention how Park Avenue Thrift had gone above and beyond the normal sponsorship role.
Wow. I've said since day one when Park Avenue Thrift started working with Gaslight that they're more of a partner than a sponsor. They are sponsors on every show that we do during the season. They contribute to drama camp every year. They are always available for the use of like when we did A Christmas Story, I needed trees, lots of Christmas trees. They let me come and borrow the Christmas trees that they had at their store, and I was able to bring them, use them on the set. And when the show was over, I took them back. Same thing with costumes. They allow us to borrow costumes and prop pieces from there. And it's an awesome partnership.
Sunval was excited when she learned of the award.
I think it's amazing. It's absolutely amazing. I love that they're being recognized for the work that they do.
Malvin Arter, who started working at Park Avenue Thrift in 2010 and is now the operations manager, shared his impressions on how he discovered Park Avenue Thrift and what led him to get involved.
And I've always been a big thrifter, love thrift stores, and I had moved away from Enid for a time and came back to visit, and Park Avenue had just opened, so I was excited to come by and check out the new store. And so as soon as I moved back to Enid, I knew I wanted to be involved somehow, and this is one of the first places I came.
Arter gave a brief rundown of what the day-to-day operations entailed.
So operations is everything from being paged like I am right now. So it's basically the entire process. So as donations come in, what we cannot accept, what we need to recycle, what goes where it goes in the floor, how it looks, a rotation with the employees, when it comes to their scheduling, their days off, basically everything from the item coming and going and everything in between. So a little bit of everything. I kind of have my fingers everywhere here.
Arter was also excited to hear about the award.
Oh, I couldn't believe it. Just being nominated was such a huge honor. Just it being a statewide organization and them seeing what we do in our community. So many other nonprofits are spread out across the state. So we do a lot in our community here in Enid, but for that statewide recognition was just such a huge honor.
Nightingale and Hume have since retired from Park Avenue Thrift, leaving the door open for the next generation. Stella Jansen stepped into the role of executive director in 2019 and hasn't looked back. Jansen commented on how she became involved with Park Avenue Thrift.
Well, actually, the first time I ever heard about it was, I actually wasn't living here. I was born and raised here in Enid, and I went to Stillwater to go to school at OSU. I was shopping. I was, getting a new apartment up there, but I came back home and me and my mom went to thrift stores so that I could furnish my apartment. And so, of course, Park Avenue was one of the thrift stores here in town, and we stopped in. And so that was my first experience. But then whenever I moved back here to Enid from college, I became involved with, I opened up my own store here. And so we came to Park Avenue to buy basically displays for the store. And then hearing about the good that they were doing, it just made me gravitate more towards Park Avenue because they were helping downtown with Main Street Enid, and that's where we were located. So I already loved the store just because of what they did. Let's see, whenever it was like 2019, I was asked by the board of directors to help with marketing. And so that let me come in and learn a little bit more about the nonprofit side of Park Avenue. Because of course, whenever you think Park Avenue Thrift, you just think of the thrift store. So I got to learn more about the inside, and I absolutely fell in love with the organization. And that was the year that they were also looking to hire a new executive director. And so I was like, okay, I'm throwing my name in. I want to be a part of this organization just from working on the marketing side of it.
Jansen then stated how she felt when the award was announced.
So we were nominated for the General Impact category at the One Awards, which is Oklahoma Nonprofit of Excellence. And we were up against, I shouldn't say up against, we were with Oklahoma City Beautiful, which is in Oklahoma City, and Food on the Move, which is in Tulsa. And, they're phenomenal nonprofits. And, but, we ended up having that award, and then we were able to have the overall award. And I'm still just, about it. Because there were so many phenomenal nonprofits doing such important work. And I thought maybe because we're from Enid, which is a smaller community, that maybe we would, not be noticed as much. So I was completely shocked. I wasn't expecting it whenever they called Park Avenue Thrift. So to be recognized on a state level of, what our nonprofit is doing it's validation. that yes, we are making things happen. We do have a great impact on our community. And we're here to help other nonprofits. And so to see that being recognized was just amazing.
Jansen then commented on what we can expect from Park Avenue Thrift in the future.
Well, right now, actually, for our spring cycle, it will allow us to hit $5 million given back to Enid since 2007. So that's a big milestone that we're super excited about. So this year, we're going to have our 5 million celebration. I will have more news for you soon. We have some really cool things in the works on that. So this year is going to be that big celebration. And then we also just purchased another building. It's a smaller building. And so that also we will be announcing to the public here in a couple months about what we have plans for that. So just a lot of exciting things about to happen.
The $5 million donated by Park Avenue Thrift since 2007 is no small amount, especially when you consider those funds are going into other nonprofits as well as back into the community. According to the Oklahoma Chamber of Commerce, it's estimated that over 21,000 nonprofits exist in Oklahoma. When you consider the many excellent nonprofits and the strict criteria used to determine the award recipients, Park Avenue Thrift has received recognition as an organization that takes serving the community to the highest level. And they now have the award to prove it as the best nonprofit in Oklahoma in 2025. For Focus Black Oklahoma, I'm Vincent Fields in Enid.
This year's Ride to Remember and Ride for Equity cycling events kick off Saturday, May 31st in Tulsa's historic Greenwood District. Osborne Celestine, founder of the Community Light Foundation, which hosts Ride to Remember, and Linda Jackson of the Major Taylor Oklahoma Cycling Club will be cycling from Black Wall Street in Tulsa to Wall Street in New York City for the 1,645-mile Ride for Equity. FBO's Bracken Clark spoke with Celestine and Jackson about their mission.
As a group, African Americans are disproportionately impacted by a number of health issues compared to their white counterparts, as reported by the Office of Minority Health, a U.S. governmental organization established during the Reagan administration. Some of these health issues include diabetes, heart disease, stroke, cancer, and asthma. Food insecurity, while being a serious problem in its own right, impacting almost 16% of households statewide, according to the United States Department of Agriculture, compounds those health issues, and food insecurity is also experienced disproportionately by African Americans. Osborne Celestine is well aware of the issues faced by the community here in Oklahoma and is doing what he can to help.
So that's that whole thing. We want to feed you, but we want to give you good food, and we want to try to show you how this food affects your health. So that's what the bottom line mission is. On my card, it says feeding the hungry, but it's more than that. We're also trying to feed the soul by educating us on what good food is.
Celestine is the founder of the Community Light, a nonprofit organization whose mission you heard a moment ago. The Community Light works to raise awareness and funds and contributes to organizations that are on the front lines of food insecurity.
I was a part of the team that put on the Black Wall Street 100 in 2021. In 2022, I started my own organization. I started the Community Light Foundation, and I created Ride to Remember Black Wall Street. And what I wanted to do was I wanted to do an event that was housed in North Tulsa by people that are from North Tulsa and that dealt with food insecurity in North Tulsa.
That was Celestine again, talking about the 4th annual Ride to Remember Black Wall Street, a cycling event that honors Black Wall Street and raises funds for the Community Light and its partners to fight food insecurity. This year's partners are Food on the Move, Iron Gate, Fresh RX, and RG Foods. The ride starts in Greenwood and takes cyclists through various parts of North Tulsa and neighboring communities, and ends up back in Greenwood. The routes offered are either a 15, 35, 50, or 75-mile ride. A cancer survivor, Celestine knows exercise is important for physical and mental health, and credits cycling and diet as playing key roles in his cancer victory. He wants to get others, particularly Black people and other historically marginalized groups, involved in cycling.
I'm really trying to make cycling a part of North Tulsa and let the kids know that, you can cycle. I didn't know you could be a cyclist when I was a kid, I could be a basketball player, a football player, a track, but not necessarily a cyclist.
This event combines two of Celestine's passions, cycling and giving people healthy food, to combat the epidemic of poor health and food insecurity. For this year's Ride to Remember Black Wall Street, Celestine will be a part of a group of cyclists traveling from Tulsa's Black Wall Street to Wall Street in New York City. Linda Jackson, from Oklahoma City, will be a part of that group. Once an avid runner, she explains her path to cycling.
I always viewed it as a person of not that was not Black, just never thought anything of it, but that's all that I saw on the streets riding road bikes. But how I got introduced to it, I used to be an avid runner. And as I got older, and as weight on the joints, it's not a pretty thing. So I had to find something else. And a neighbor of mine invited me to the East Side Bike Ride here in Oklahoma City. And the group that put that on is Major Taylor Cycling Club of Oklahoma. And I just loved camaraderie. It was a well put together event. And one of the members invited me out to a group ride. And so I saw Black women in their kits. And I was like, ooh, where do you get that?
Major Taylor was a bicycle racer from Indianapolis who competed in the late 19th and early 20th centuries. Marshall Walter Major Taylor was the world's first Black sports superstar. Today, Major Taylor cycling clubs honor his legacy and provide cycling opportunities for the communities in which they operate. As the vice president of the Major Taylor Cycling Club of Oklahoma, Jackson feels the same way about exercise, particularly cycling, as Celestine.
One of our goals for the near future is to raise enough funding to purchase quality road bikes for youth. So we want to start a youth cycling club and, teach them the skills and fundamental of road cycling, get them outside. And as we discussed that goal, what went on inside for me was how these kids are going to benefit from this in a way that they're not even aware. Yes, initially it's about introducing you to this new sport, learning new skills, learning road safety and things of that nature, and how to maintenance your bike. What I also see is that it will provide them an opportunity to, how do I say this? For me, cycling, it has been a form of therapy. And our children are up against a lot of stuff, whether it's outside or inside the home. And when you can just get a little reprieve in your brain to give you an opportunity to actually take in good information, I see that what cycling can provide for them. So that has become, one of my missions and how I see myself. I have experienced trauma and I go to therapy. And as I mentioned, once I started cycling and I started seeing and experience the feeling that I had afterward, well, even during, it was just like my mind was just so at ease and so at peace that I was just loving it.
While Jackson and Celestine are both excited about spending time in New York City, the ride to Manhattan, from Black Wall Street to Wall Street, is the part they're looking forward to the most, along with seeing how the funds they raise and the organizations they work with impact their communities. For more information about the Community Light organization, or for information on or to sign up for the Ride to Remember Black Wall Street, visit thecommunitylight.org. You can also donate through that link. For more information on the Major Taylor cycling clubs in Oklahoma, visit majortaylorccok.org. For Focus, Black Oklahoma, I'm Bracken Clark in Tulsa.
Throughout United States history, music has been the heartbeat of political movements, marches, and protests. For Black Americans especially, music has been a source of comfort and strength in the face of systemic injustice. For the second part of FBO's Culture and Music series, Tulsa musicians David B. Smith and Charlie Redd share why music has the power to heal, inspire, and fuel social change. Here's Francia Allen.
All the beloved songs from the Civil Rights Movement, such as We Shall Overcome and Lift Every Voice and Sing, have become staples in the African American community. Is the music from that era still relevant and effective in this community today? Here is what Smith had to say.
I do believe that those songs still have life and give life to our community particularly. And of course, that's spread out now to many communities. Those songs still have life and they give life because they hearken back to the struggles, the much, and I would have to argue, the much more intense struggles of the 60s.
Red shared a different perspective.
Not so much. It was that era, it was that time, and that generation is fading. Right now, it's a different world, it's a different day. This generation, we haven't experienced what they experienced, so we need new messages. You know, we didn't have to sit in the back of a bus or use a certain water fountain, or we had more freedom and more rights than people that needed. Hey, we're gonna overcome and let's stand together, and God is gonna, all that. Now, unfortunately, I think the music is hurting us.
Kendrick Lamar's 2025 NFL Super Bowl halftime performance was the most watched halftime show in NFL history. He performed a 13-minute medley of songs while providing a visual mnemonic device filled with symbolism about Black history in America. Although Lamar was scheduled to perform before the 2024 presidential election, many viewers shared their interpretations of the imagery within the performance and connected their ideas of protest to the new administration ending all diversity, equity, and inclusion, or DEI, programs. The global and seemingly relative impact of Lamar's performance, people all over the world are now posting videos replicating the choreography to the song They Not Like Us. Lamar's music built a bridge across multiple cultures around the world. And here's Smith.
The music is a unifier, and it can be and is a unifier. And it offers language. It offers the articulation of feeling. It offers common ground. And I'm sure you've heard of, and I've definitely heard of people who've gone to another country and then they don't speak their language, but the music connects them. So I think that may be part of what you're asking, because music is, in fact, a connector. It doesn't matter. Even if I don't understand, like for instance, I don't know Chinese, but when I'm able to listen to a song or songs in Chinese, I'm almost immediately able to find the common ground, not from the words that I don't understand, but from the affect of the song and the melody and how it's done differently than what something I may have heard before.
For Focus, Black Oklahoma, I'm Francia Allen in Tulsa.
Focus, Black Oklahoma is produced in partnership with KOSU Radio and Tri-City Collective. Additional support is provided by the Commemoration Fund and Press Forward. Our theme music is by Moffett Music.
Focus Black Oklahoma's executive producers are Quresh Ali Lantana and Bracken Clar. Our associate producers are Smriti Iyengar and Naomi Agnew. Our production intern is Alexander Evans.
You can visit us online at kosu.org or focusblackoklahoma.com and on YouTube at Tri-City Collective. You can follow us on Instagram at FocusBlackOK and on Facebook at facebook.com/FocusBlackOK.
You can hear Focus Black Oklahoma on demand at kosu.org, the NPR app, npr.org, or wherever you get your podcasts.
As you go about your morning routine, there are a few things that are a must. You brush your teeth, put on a fresh pair of clothes, maybe even try to eat something before rushing out the door. You are busy. That's why we started the KOSU Daily Podcast, so you can get all the news you need while you're on the go. Subscribe to the KOSU Daily Podcast today.